your Buffalo Bills. It was a letter from a former Buffalo Bill.
Oh, okay. I don't like the Buffalo Bills. What are you talking about?
No, you were just saying about the Bills. We were talking about the Bills.
I was like, no. I'm a Patrick Mahomes stan. I'm rocking with him.
You're really out on a limb though on that one.
Yeah, I know I'm not. I know I'm not. He's special. He's special. But it's just there's this thing that we do. When somebody's as good as he is, as early as he's been this good, they're always like, oh, who's the next guy? And one of the guys on the 4-letter numbers had a great take. And he said, so they said that Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen is like the Peyton Manning and Tom Brady debate, right? And he broke it down and said, well, the Peyton Manning and Tom Brady debate was one guy won in the playoffs, and the other guy had all the MVPs and had all the numbers. He said Patrick Mahomes is both of them. So you can't make that comparison. He said it's like Patrick Mahomes and Big Ben. It's like Peyton and Tom and Big Ben. And I was like, that was a really funny way to put it. So yeah, I love that guy, man. I'm a fan.
And he deserves it.
Yeah.
And he's earned it.
Yeah.
I don't know about the whole spiel with the brother and the girlfriend or wife and all that kind of stuff, which is added controversy, I understand.
Yeah. And what's so funny is, even with that, like, there's not one negative thing to say about him. So it's always like, oh, his family's doing this. And he's like, dude, I'm just playing football, man. I'm not worried about none of this other stuff.
It's kind of like there were some guys here earlier at Tournament to Pizza, and Jeff Lacey's name came up. I don't know if you're familiar with Jeff Lacey. Jeff Lacey was a boxer here in the Tampa Bay area, phenomenal boxer. More people probably, we call it in the MMA world the MMA flu, where you show up to weigh in and you look at your opponent and you say you got to go to the bathroom, and you grab your crap and leave. I mean, Jeff Lacey, I believe the saying was built like a brick. Okay.
Yeah.
But Jeff Lacey's brother was involved in committing murder. He murdered some police officers.
Wow.
And so Jeff Lacey took the brunt of that. It wasn't Jeff Lacey's fault.
Yeah.
It's his brother.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were close. I don't know any of that. And it's such a shame, how throwing that on a family member, kind of like this, blaming Patrick for, it's kind of like me getting blamed for Matt.
Yeah.
And I'm being serious. I'm not trying to be a comedian.
Honestly, it doesn't make any sense. And it's just like, hey, man, like, I can't control what other people do. That's his own person. And it kind of stinks that, because I feel like you would have to have more respect for your family member in that situation. Again, the whole murder thing's a different thing.
Sure.
But the whole thing with Patrick and his brother and
you're representing your brother at a Chiefs game.
Exactly.
Probably wearing your brother's jersey.
And I let you on the field. I gave you all these things. You have all this access to who I am. Like, respect the space. And, Oh, another Jeff. Jeff Saturday gets his first win as a coach.
Give me your thoughts.
Listen, I was shocked.
And this one's difficult, and I know the 4-letter network has struggled with this.
Yeah.
Because he's a friend, and they've walked a fine line.
I don't think they have. I think guys have been unfair in their bashing of him. I think a lot of there were guys who played football who came and were very outspoken against him and taking that job. And I'm like, listen, I understand it's unprecedented for somebody who's never coached at any level to go be an NFL head coach. But he's one of your guys, and he's going out there, and who knows? Who knows what he's gonna do? But just to come out and be like, you can make your comment. Like I said, it's always a thing about respect. Make your comments like, wow, this is shocking. Let's see how this goes. But to be like, he should be ashamed of himself. Why would he accept that job? Any one of you guys would.
It's just like what we talked about before with the Police Gazette belt.
Yeah.
Why should fighter B not accept it because fighter A was stripped of it? That has nothing to do with him.
Anybody would accept that job.
And the beauty of the whole Jeff Saturday thing, it's kind of like the Herm Edwards thing. He's been at 4-letter. He went to Arizona, got let go. He's back on ESPN.
Yeah.
So Saturday will be back if he comes back.
Yeah.
And what bothers me, and I know what the 4-letter network said, and I'm not a big, I don't even know if I should say it, and it's going to get me in trouble, but if I own something, I should be able to hire who I want.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't care male, female, green, black, white, gray.
I agree.
There is a relationship with the Colts and Jeff Saturday.
Yeah. 14 years. 14 years of my life. I grew up here. I worked with everybody in this building. Like you said, I know how to lead men. I was a leader on this team. I was the only person that could challenge Peyton Manning and not get kicked off the team.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, hey, let's see how he does. Again, it's unprecedented. I was shocked by it. Right, the same way everybody was. But after I kind of sat with it for a little bit, let it marinate, I'm like, we'll see. Let's hope he does good, and help it opens more doors for players to want to go into those roles. Because, like I want to coach myself, and there is definitely a hierarchy and a stepping stone of like you have to do all the, I'll call it little girl work. Sorry, I can't even say that anymore. You have to do all like the grunt work at the start off and be a scout and be a whatever operations guy and do all these things for 10 years before you finally get a chance to be a coordinator, and then maybe. So like, if guys don't have to go through that process anymore, if he can be successful with it, because he's really, really smart. He's a center, he's got to be smart. He's got to know how much the quarterback does. If he can have success, I think great for everybody.
It possibly, let's think of it this way, it was an out that the Colts can kind of ride the rest of the season out because it is Jeff Saturday.
It's an interim.
Right.
It's not,
Well, and if you bring somebody else in, there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of, on both the ownership and that coach. Yeah. Now he's taken some of that pressure off because it's Jeff Saturday. Yeah. All right, let's give him time. And maybe he's already thinking about, who's next. And, on the same line, Rich Bisaccia, in my opinion, got the shaft in Vegas. They should have kept him.
They should have.
They didn't because of his attachment to Gruden. He's been with Gruden a long time. Yeah. And that's not fair either.
No, because he was doing well. They finished the season really, really
Team
well.
loves him. Players love him. I don't know if I ever told you the story about Rich.
No.
So Rich is the special teams coach of the Bucs back in the day. And I was out at Old One Buck, and he walks by, and I said, Coach, do you have a minute? And he goes, no, I don't talk to the media. And he doesn't.
Yeah.
And I mentioned my brother-in-law, and he stopped in his tracks. They grew up in the same town. They played at Yankton together, so they were friends. Yeah. So I've been a big Rich guy. I've known Rich a long, long time. Finally got the opportunity, and then because of this disaster.
Yeah, did well. That also goes back, just remember something. Goes back to our topic of selective outrage. The whole John Gruden thing, I know we touched on it before, but it just reminded me back of what we talked about like earlier on, off air and on air, about just how people just pick and choose what they get upset about and certain things like that. And like, if you're going to dismantle something, dismantle all of it, right?
So the new John Gruden rumor, right?
No, what is it?
Okay, so back to hypocrites. Okay, and there's been a lot of talk about John Gruden and their hatred of John Gruden and whatever in the Tampa Bay area. Allegedly, John Gruden is trying to become a head coach again.
Yeah, as he should.
At USF.
Oh, wow.
And I will be. I think it would take massive by USF because of past and the emails and whatever. But I think it would be a huge hire, and how many players would come because of him, and of course how many players would not. Parents are like, hey,
man, let's be real here. You are upset about emails for things that were said almost 10 years ago, 10 plus years ago, right? If you don't give somebody a chance to grow and be different and change, then like, what are we doing here? Like, it's like, and again, people do this thing, they do it with politicians, they do it with anybody who's in the limelight, that you can't make a mistake and then you're torn down. Show me your text messages. Let me see what you say when you're at home.
Sure.
Right? Don't sit there and throw stones at people just because they're in a place of power that you feel like. So you're like, oh, you're off, I'm going to tear you down. That's so wrong. People deserve a second chance.
Look at what happened in Boston with the hockey player.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know, I'm not going to say everybody, but middle school, high school is a different world. Things happen.
Yes.
Now, I would be a liar to say I wasn't bullied in high school. The difference is I laughed about it.
Yeah.
I got my ass beat, but I still laughed about it.
Everyone makes mistakes, man. Everyone, again, like, there's obviously egregious things where it's like, okay, we have to talk about something, but like, you can't use what you know today and how much of the world has changed today to attack somebody for what they did 10 years ago. Because I know you're not perfect, like no one is. And so let's all be a little bit more honest with ourselves and more honest about what we expect from people. Because like, I don't, even when they said that he, like, they were like, oh, John Gruden said this and he said something racist and whatever. I was like, dude, I don't think John Gruden's racist. I met John Gruden. John Gruden is around too many African American, black people, too many people of different races, shapes, sizes, and somebody who's racist cannot sit in those rooms and work with people like that for years and years and years and years and years. It's just not going to happen, right?
I love you to death.
Yeah.
But Warren Sapp said the same thing. I'm not trying to take credibility away from you or anybody else.
Yeah.
Warren Sapp lived with him.
Okay.
In the locker room every single day.
Okay. Prejudice, cool. I don't like the way he talks, cool. To be a racist.
Right.
That is a strong claim to make. That's all I'm saying.
that's
Let's
what I'm
not-
saying.
So let's not throw
Right.
those words around, because that is something very, very serious to say. I think it's something that people just toss around like, oh, like he talked to me like that. I felt that way when I was younger about Sarah. I was like, oh man, he's got to be racist. Then I got older. I'm like, dude, okay, come on, let's be real. I just didn't like the way he said something to me, right?
Right.
You know, certain guys talk a certain way. I had coaches call me boy in high school, right? And it always just to be like, ugh.
Right.
But that's how he talks.
But it's not.
It's
Right.
not. He's
Right.
not being prejudiced.
Right.
He's not being. That's just how he talks,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so again, can he be more sensitive? Because, but also like, hey, get over yourself, dude. Like, let's work. We don't gotta be buddy. Let's work and let's get our stuff done. You know. So
Absolutely.
that's my 2 cents.
All right, let's go. It may be a couple minutes early, but let's go to the break. And I feel so bad for you. You've been in a bad place. So I got something. Hopefully this plays out and works out well.
If not,
I'll put
you
you.
need security.
We'll do what?
You need security if not.
You know, it wouldn't be the first time things. You know what I was just going to say?
What were we gonna say?
I was going to say it wouldn't be the first time things have blown up in my face, but
Yeah.
you know,
It's like another Facebook suspension coming your way.
well, I didn't type it
After
on
the break.
Facebook, so it was live. So when we come back, a little, let's get Caleb out of his funk, and that'll happen when we return. This is Knockout Radio, brought to you by 8 Man Strong and Staff Sergeant.